Talk, shop, pop, movies.
Ahoy there, this is Derek, the Convicted Cinephile, and if you're a convicted cinephile yourself, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel down below. On my channel, I like to talk, shop, and pop open, that is, movies and physical media. Today, I'm going to do something a little different, but it's still spooky season related. For those of you that are unaware, the streaming service Shudder has been doing a 101 Scariest Movie Moments Countdown series, and this upcoming Wednesday will be the top 10 of that list. So I am here to predict, essentially, what I think those top 10 will be. This list has been very, very weird so far. It's called 101 Movie Moments, yet 90% of the time they're focusing on the entire movie as opposed to a specific moment. Sometimes they're not movies, they're actually TV shows or miniseries a couple of times in there. Sometimes they'll wedge an entire franchise into one slot, like with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street for some weird reason. It's been strange. The entire order of this list has been extremely debatable. Obviously, it's all subjective, but there have been some on here that it's like fairly ridiculous that they'd be on the list at all, regardless where they are placed, and some of them that are placed far lower or far higher than they absolutely should be placed. But having said that, we are now at the top 10, and for those of you that don't know the rest of them, I'll just go through the most recent top 10 of them. So from number 20 to number 11, yes, that is how I read numbers. I'm going to pick it up here. Number 20 was Wreck, which they seem to be doing a foreign movie on every single episode of this at least once, so that'll come up again later. Number 19, deservingly, was Carrie, which is always great. I would definitely put Carrie on there in that spot, more or less. The Omen was number 18, deservedly so, classic right there. Number 17 was Night of the Living Dead, the George Romero original, obviously. Dawn of the Dead was far lower on the list. I would personally flip-flop them, but as far as influential reasons, it makes sense. But for specific movie moments reasons, it's kind of an odd placement. This was a nice surprise. Number 16 was The Exorcist 3. More so than not because of the most famous jump scare in film history scene. And it deserves to be on the list for that because it's one of the scariest movie moments of all time. The fact that it's so high is surprising. That film is great and definitely has had a substantial uptick in popularity over the past decade or so. It's like Halloween 3. All these nice threequel movies that no one liked when they came out, they're getting a nice new fan base. This one was weird. Why it's on the list makes perfect sense, but it was Final Destination 2 of all things. The first one was not on the list at all. It makes sense why it's on the list because of its, awesome, famous log truck scene in the opening, which is what Final Destination movies are obviously famous for. That scene deserves to be on the list 100%. It's fantastic. But number 15, best of all time, no. The rest of these are debatable. They should potentially be higher or in a different order, I would say. Number 14 was Jaws. So Jaws not being in the top 10, to me, is personally shocking. You could take almost any of the famous moments from this and put it on this list. But yeah, but it's at least in the top 15, so it's it's a fair placement, I would say. We don't know who's making these lists, honestly. They have like the weirdest judgment. There's always some new movie. There's always like a weird foreign movie that you wouldn't think would be on here. And then there's always like a Mike Flanagan movie because he's a part of the show, so of course all his movies are going to be on there just by default. It's kind of weird. It's very odd. Number 13 was Scream, which is great. But Scream being above Jaws, I would say, is odd. Number 12, right above Scream, deservedly so, is Halloween. But once again, Halloween not being in the top 10 is surprising. And number 11 was the original Ridley Scott Alien. Deserves to be extremely high on this list, but it's surprising that it's above Halloween and Jaws, I would say. Since essentially Halloween and Alien are Jaws with, a man and an alien. Okay, if you want to think of it that way. But yeah, that's the last 20. I'd go check out the whole list. and it's a good show. You should watch it. But here's what I think. I have 13 movies written down. 10 of these, maybe, will make this top 10 list. I'm not doing this in any specific order necessarily. It's just the movies I think might make it. Some more so than others, obviously. But here we go. Though the ones I have at the bottom here are the ones I think will less likely make it, but easily could. 13 would be Amityville Horror, which is just one of those super famous horror movies that hasn't been on the list yet. And it's kind of odd that it hasn't. So it might make it just based on that. But, you know, I could easily see it not making it. It's just funny that out of 101, it's not anywhere to be seen. Number 12, I have Pet Sematary, which, as a movie, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's good. But there are definitely moments in it that would deserve to be on the 101 Scariest Moments lists. The movie overall, I could see not making it. But as far as moments go, it would be deserving. With, you know, the Gage truck sequence or him under the bed or the Zelda scene. There's a lot of moments in this film that would be deserving to make this list, even if it's not just for the movie itself. Number 11 I have, like I mentioned, there's always a foreign movie on this list, but there's also always something fairly newer. Like it's not always, you know, classics from the 60s and 70s or what have you, is The Ring. The Ring has not been on this list, but The Grudge and Pulse have. So I don't know if they're going to go with Ringu, or if they're going to just do the 2002 remake The Ring, because it's essentially the same movie and it was extremely popular, and have that be the either foreign or newer-ish movie from that sort of time period. Number 10, I have Poltergeist. If Poltergeist isn't in this top 10, I can't imagine it not being in the top 101. That's ridiculous. Number 9 is one that I could take or leave, is The Hills Have Eyes. It's another one where it's like, yeah, it would make sense, but I think I would have seen it by now. My dog forgot how to walk through doors for a second. He was scratching on stuff. Where was I? Hills Have Eyes. This could easily make it, but will it be above Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street and Last House on the Left, just considering Wes Craven movies? I doubt it, but maybe. Number 8, they often have a classic film on each one of these. Like they've done Frankenstein, they've done Wolfman, they've done Phantom of the Opera, I think. Another movie I don't have on this list is Freaks, which I could see easily potentially making it, but at this point, I think we would have seen it by now. But my number 8 is Dracula, the original 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula. They've already done one of the Hammer Christopher Lee Draculas, like way at the bottom of the list, at like number 99 or something around that ballpark. But they haven't done the original Dracula, and that's like the first Universal monster movie, so I can't imagine them not including it if they've included Frankenstein and the Wolfman even over Dracula. Is kind of surprising. So I think Dracula would probably be on there somewhere. Number 7, this one would piss me off more than any of these to not make this list, honestly, would be John Carpenter's The Thing. This scares the hell out of me because this means The Thing would have to be above Halloween, and they've been showing clips of other movies like between their picks, and they've bing showing clips of The Thing here and there, so it makes me worried that they're not going to choose The Thing because they've been showing clips from The Thing. Who knows? The Thing not making the top 10 would be fine, but if it doesn't make the top 10, that means it's not on the countdown at all, and that's ridiculous. This is one where you could pick it for the entire movie because it's amazing, or a few specific moments. Probably either the blood test moment or the heart attack, burst chesting monster moment where the guy's head crawls off and turns into a spider and walks away. One of those two, either of those two moments should be on this list. I was pissed off when American Werewolf in London was like number 80 something, and they didn't even talk about the transformation sequence. They talked about like the dream sequence, which is weird. So unless they're going to pick another moment from the same movie and have that up here, which they haven't done yet, it's just odd. I can't imagine The Thing not making this list at all. So I have to have it in my top 10. It would be my top 10, 100%, obviously. Number 6, I have The Shining. The Shining has not made this list yet, and the Doctor Sleep has. I'll just put it that way. So if The Shining is not on this top 10 and Doctor Sleep is in the top 101, something is wrong with this world right now. Number 5, I have another newer film, Hereditary. It's like everyone's favorite thing ever. I enjoyed it. I'm not a huge fan of these kind of movies, I guess. If there's any newer horror movie that would be in the top 10, I think it is this one. Number 4, I have the other foreign movie that I think would make the top 10, which is Audition. They haven't talked about Audition yet, and this is one that would 100% make it because of the specific moments toward the end of the film. I'll just say that. If you haven't seen Audition, see it. It's creepy as hell. It's slow, but goddamn, where that movie goes. The top 3 are like, if they're not on this list, then it's literally null and void. Number 3, I have the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I find it strange that they would put this above Halloween and Jaws, kind of. I mean, they came out first, so I'll give it that. I don't know. It needs to be on this list. It's just kind of funny that there's certain things that it's so high above. I don't know if this would be just because of the film in general, or if they're going to pick the dinner sequence, or if they're going to pick specifically the scene where you first see Leatherface and he cracks the guy in the head with a hammer and pulls him through the door and slams it, which is like the coolest thing in the movie, in my opinion. It could, who knows how much of it they're going to talk about, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, no way in hell is that not on this top 10. Because like I said before, if it's not in the top 10, it's not in the top 101, and that would be ridiculous. Number 2 and 1, I think, are going to be the 2 and 1 in one order or another. Number 2, I have Psycho. It's Psycho. You can't not have 101 horror movie moments countdown without Psycho. This is another perfect example of, it could just be the whole damn movie, or you could just talk about the shower sequence, and there's your moment right there. So either way, this deserves to be in at least the top 5. I don't care who's making this list. This makes your top 5 as far as how influential and classic this is. And number 1 is obvious because I haven't talked about it yet. The Exorcist. They had Exorcist 3 at number what? I said like number 20 something, right? Or number 17 in that ballpark. Yeah. They haven't had Exorcist 1 on there yet. Exorcist is going to be either the number 1 or number 2 movie next to Psycho, in my opinion. It's allegedly the scariest movie of all time, even though I would disagree, but it's a great movie. I love it. But that's it. So once again, I'll say my top 10 are The Exorcist, Psycho, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Audition, Hereditary, The Shining, The Thing, Dracula, The Hills Have Eyes, and Poltergeist. Like, everywhere from under Dracula, like Hills Have Eyes, Poltergeist, Ring, Pet Sematary, and Amityville Horror, I could see any of those, 2 of those, getting in any order out of this list. And who knows, maybe it'll be something I haven't even thought of. Like Sinister, which is awesome and hasn't been on the list yet. But I can't see it being above like Halloween or any of these other movies. It's just weird at this point. Obviously, this list isn't important. It's just a fun thing to watch. But I always like countdown lists and stuff like this. And Bravo did one fucking forever ago that was similar to this. And ones they were showing as like number 14, 15 on here were like number 1 and 2 on their list. I just thought it'd be a fun thing to predict Shudder's top 10 horror movie moments of all time. And let's see if they throw a curveball at us and throw another TV show in there, like, I don't know, the X-Files or fucking some other weird show. Tell me, what do you think is guaranteed to make this top 10 list in the comments down below? I would like to know. Do you agree that the 10 that will be on there are in my 13 I mentioned? Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. My name is Derek, the Convicted Cinephile. Comment down below your top 10 lists, what your personal top 10 list would be, and what you think their top 10 list will be. I'm curious. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Talk, shop, pop, movies.